Good morning, Christy.
Good morning, Maggie.
How are you?
I know this is a this is a I think a difficult or challenging topic we want to cover today because um, as the play therapy world knows, we lost one of our pioneers in the field last week, and Maggie and I have both been personally impacted by Dr. Garry Landreth's work, and so we wanted to take some time on our podcast this week to talk about his impact for us, but also for the field as a whole, as a way to honor his legacy today.
Yeah,
So,
it's definitely, it's hard.
yeah, I was
Um,
sharing with Maggie before we got on the podcast today. We knew he had retired. We knew, you know, age is one of those things where we get older and, this is inevitable, but it just always felt it wasn't going to happen. And so to get the news last week was a little, you know, shocking, heartbreaking, and so much gratitude
right.
for his impact on the field and his impact on our work and other things. So it's this mixed emotion side of losing, he was a mentor to me, so one of my mentors in the field. Um, so yeah,
It,
it's been
it's
a hard
definitely,
weekend.
yeah, it was a hard weekend. It was interesting because we had, we're kind of interrupting our cycle of podcasts.
Yeah.
Because we had Dr. Christy Perryman on last week. And as we were talking with her and she was talking about the way in which Dr. Landreth had impacted her, she got a text, and then we found out the next day. And what I even just kind of got chill bumps, just the way the universe kind of works almost. It was there was something happening that, I mean, obviously I don't think we're unique in talking about the impact that Dr. Landreth had on our lives. I think probably a lot of people do that on a pretty frequent basis. But it was neat to be with some people that I value in the play therapy world and kind of explore the ways in which Dr. Landreth had impacted us all. And
Yeah.
I would not have, he changed the trajectory of my career, right? I
Which we
fell in
hear from
love.
so many people,
Hmm.
right? When you're at APT or you're at trainings, in particular around child-centered, his name is always mentioned and his work is always mentioned about changing people's trajectories.
Hmm.
Yeah.
He did so much for the field. I mean, I think that it child center play therapy, but play therapy in general, right? It is, he really just thinking about the lineage and how many people, and I was trying to calculate how many students do you think he had, and then how many of his students and went on and taught more people, and then how many of the people that we taught then went on to impact children, and just on and on and on and on. Um, he was just he was
He
fun to
has a big
watch.
ripple effect in this field. Yeah.
Yeah. Something that's kind of funny, sharing funny memories. If we were ever at APT when we were students, and if we were talking to Dr. Landreth or around Dr. Landreth, and people would ask us to move to take his picture.
Well, I always thought it was funny because he always had a trail of people following him everywhere. And if you knew Dr. Landreth, that just was not his personality. He saw himself as just a regular human being. And so it was just funny to see the contradictions, right, of all these people. And he knew he made an impact on the field. I often think of him as a protector in a time where therapy was really moving to more directive approaches, more the focus of changing in an individual, where Dr. Landreth was really about the belief in children, but believe in people as a whole and all these things. And then, so it was just such a contradiction to hear those sides of himself. And then he's at APT or another conference, and all these people are kind of following behind him. I used to Personally, I used to think of it as a little gaggle of geese. The mama or the papa geese is moving, and all the little geeslings are behind him
It was so
to,
funny.
to get to talk to him. And he would take the time, and he was such a humble but generous human being,
Mhm.
just around what he was doing in the field at the time and really wanting, and to be trained by really big people, Rogers and Axline, and really influenced by the Gurneys and other people, right? Just in his work. Um, yeah, his
Yeah.
footprint is big.
Mhm. And he taught us both.
I know. We were in class together, right?
I know we were.
We took intro to play together. And that was an experience.
Hmm.
That was taught no other class I had ever taken before, or I think maybe one or two classes were taught that after that. But I was a master student. Maggie was a PhD student at the time. And yeah, it was just such a unique experience to be a part of.
It was fun. I'm trying to remember, I remember funny things about it, right? I
Mhm.
remember him using the overhead projector
Yeah.
and I loved it. I was like, this is the best.
And let me tell you, he knew every slide he had in the overhead projector, and he must have had them labeled because we would, the challenge with PowerPoints is you already have it in an order. So if you want to
Right.
shift order, you have to like jump ahead or stop sharing to then find the slide you want, and then you have to remember where you're going back to, all that wild. He could just pull anything out and then put it in a different folder. But yeah, man, he did his overhead projectors.
It just made me laugh.
Yeah.
Well,
Well, and
and
I
just like,
remember
go ahead.
I was just going to say I was working in healthcare at the time that I took that class. And I remember him pulling a bottle out and he was, kids will suck on this. And I was over there freaking out because, when you work in healthcare, you're pretty inundated in the idea of infection control and keeping people safe and all this stuff. And I was like, Dr. Landreth, what do you do to sterilize that? And he's sterilized, just the next kid sucks out. And I was like, what are you doing? And I don't know if you remember this, but he really pushed back on me. He's, what's going to happen if kids get germs, Christy? Kids get germs every day. And I was like, they die. That's what
They
happens. In
die.
my world, they die, which is really the extreme. But that's how we're taught in the healthcare system when you're working in inpatient or not mental health hospitals, but health
Right.
facilities. That is the fear is that you could give them an infection. And the population I was working at was really immunocompromised. So no, that was a real reality. So for him to push back, I just remember that. And as I've gone into the field, reminding myself, these kids are not sick, the kids that I worked with in the hospital. These kids have, for the most part, healthy immune systems. And if they don't, I know about it.
Right.
Right. But I just remember that part.
I don't
Like,
remember this.
oh,
Isn't that funny?
it's a clear memory. Because then here's a pacifier. Go ahead, suck on it. And I was,
Mm-mm.
nope. I was just, in that really rigid view of thinking about it. Yeah, I remember it clearly.
That's really funny.
Yeah.
Isn't it funny just that we could be in the same class and pick up different things?
Yeah. I mean, I remember so many things from that class, but though I do remember that conversation. It's probably the one that sticks out the most to me. I also remember having a really sick kid in the hospital who needed therapeutic interventions. And we had a psychologist that would come in, but was not trained with kids. And I remember having very in-depth conversations with Dr. Landreth about just the internal dilemma I was having about this person seeing this kid. And I really desperately wanted Dr. Landreth to see him, especially after his reading Art of the Relationship and the story of Ryan. I was, this kid needs you,
Yeah.
Gary. He's got, or this kid's got you, Christy. And I was, I'm not Garry Landreth. This kid needs Garry Landreth. And yeah, and him really pushing me to own my play therapy training and how I can play that out in the hospital to give this kid the support they needed.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I really appreciate his belief in me, and I think him seeing things in me before I saw them in myself.
I think he definitely saw things in me before I saw them in myself.
Yeah.
And that really made a difference. Just feeling that you were seen and valued,
Hmm.
and that's how he made you feel. And you know, it was such it was such a confidence booster. It's so scary being in a doc program, and our doc program especially, I think, is pretty scary.
Seems
And
intense.
well, because it's for the first year, it's you're provisional. Let's see if you make it. And we didn't really know what that meant other than, oh God, are we going to get kicked out?
Yep.
And he was just really supportive in that and made me feel I belonged there, especially because what's hilarious is that so many people come to UNT specifically because of play therapy. But I
Hmm.
didn't play therapy. I thought it was silly. And so I had no idea who Garry Landreth was in these doc interviews, and everyone was so scared and nervous. I'm like, what's the deal? I don't know. I mean, who is this guy? And it probably helped me because had I known about, Dee and Sue, and I might have really, and Garry, of course, I would have probably, it might have impacted the way in which I was able to engage authentically because I think I would have been a lot more nervous.
Yeah.
Um, but the chatter in the room of, oh my gosh, I have to sit down with
There
Dr.
he is.
Landreth for my interview.
That would have, yeah. I think that would have freaked, if we knew who he was, that would have freaked anyone out.
Yeah.
He was world renowned for his work, for his contribution to the field.
Mm-hmm.
And at the same time, he was just a normal
Mm-hmm.
guy,
Uh-huh.
you know?
Mm-hmm.
So,
And I remember his office, and that I remember where it was.
yeah, I remember being so excited. He was my advisor in the master's program. And he was someone who said, you should get your PhD. And I was, you're crazy. Um, but he planted a seed. And it's taught me something about being a faculty member, about when you see something in others, how do you plant the seed to support them, right? And maybe see something they don't see in themselves and encourage the same way he was very encouraging without being pushy or, do you know what I mean? He would just bring it up and be, have you thought about this? And I was, yeah, no, not on my list. Maybe in 10 years. He's, why wait 10 years, Christy? And I remember when I decided to, or when I was really starting to really think about it, I was, I should go somewhere else, right? Not UNT because I got my master's there. And wouldn't it be better if I diversified where I got my training? He's, well, what do you want to do when you finish? And I was, I want to teach play therapies. Where are you going to go?
Yeah.
Where are these other places you're thinking of? I don't know. And
Yeah.
it's, there's only a few that have PhD programs that will prepare you. And I was, oh, right. And he let me do my own research. And I remember coming back to him and being, I don't want to be in some of those places at the time.
Yeah.
And they were typically graduates or someone who had been influenced by
Dr.
Garry in the Center for Play Therapy. And that was
Mm-hmm.
a long conversation we had. Is you could go out and, get trained in under these other sites and, but it will not be the same as being trained here. And I
Yeah.
was, dang it.
Yeah. It was special being trained there.
Mhm.
And it's funny, the story that I use that Dr. Landreth would share in class has nothing to do with play therapy, I don't even think. But he was talking about how, as a school counselor, he had a middle schooler who would come in his room and never say anything. And he would just continue to reflect and engage. And, you don't want to be here. This isn't what you're looking forward to. And continuing to have that genuine, I guess maybe it was in late elementary school. And then he got a
Mhm.
letter from her a year later and was, thank you for changing my life and believing in me. And I share that all of the time. And I remember working in the juvenile detention center, which is not, I'm not doing child centered play therapy, right? But I'm still engaging in child centered ways and
Once
person
once
centered.
you learn and hone in on CCPT, it does start to filter your way of being and the way you interact with people. There's just kind of no changing that.
Yeah, it does. It just shifts everything. And I would remember that story, especially when feeling kind of discouraged because so
Mhm.
many of these kiddos in juvenile detention center were struggling with such big things and so very little trust. And
Yeah.
just reminding myself that I can it doesn't matter. And I share that story a lot with my school counseling students who are working with middle school students, right? Is just because you're not getting feedback that you're helping or you're being supportive or engaging, it does not mean that they don't value what you're providing for them. And that you inherently caring about someone else makes a difference.
Hmm. Well, and that radical stance, right? Belief in a person, trust in the child is really anti-cultural in a lot of ways because we really children need to be taught and trained and
Mm-hmm.
altered to fit the way we think people should be when they naturally have that. And sometimes what we do causes them to be shifted out of those natural ways of being. And I think that's to me what I meant by, he really protected the model of these earlier people and repopularized it when the world was moving so far away from believing in that. I don't think other approaches don't believe in clients, but it's that unconditional belief
Mm-hmm.
and that how we interact with people, right, is needs to demonstrate that empathy, unconditional positive regard, our own congruence. I
Mm-hmm.
remember having lots of conversations with Dr. Landreth about, as many people do when you first start, you mimic your
Mm-hmm.
mentors and the people you idolize in the field. So I remember trying to be Garry, and Dr. Landreth was, there's already one of me. We only need another Christy. We don't need another Garry Landreth, right? Why are you trying to be me? What is your heart telling you? What would be more accurate? And I was, oh, dang, okay.
Yeah.
And I don't, and what a lot of listeners don't know about me is I actually have a twin. And growing up with a twin, you're often not seen as an individual, you're seen as a unit, right? So this was really life altering for me to really start to hone in on who I am and what I provide in the world, and that has value and that is enough. And so it was really a shift. I'm going to get teary-eyed talking about this, but those conversations were deep. They were really meaningful and they really, helped me as a human being, which I'm incredibly grateful for.
Mm-hmm.
And they didn't stop while I was in the doctoral program or in the master's program. I remember after I graduated, him, you know, contacted me before an APT conference and said, let's do breakfast. I want a one-on-one time with you. And no one else came. He wasn't, I said, I know you have a lot of people. He's, nope, this is breakfast for Christy and Garry. Let's schedule it. Let's get it right. And really took time to hear how I was doing, how the transition was to academia and moving to a new city, how, just how I as a human being was doing. And so, which is lovely to have someone that when you go places, that you're just not a cog in a wheel, which sometimes academic spaces can sometimes feel for students.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm getting teary too.
I know.
It's
Yeah.
weird. It's been a long time since I have spoken with him. And
Well, we haven't seen him since before the pandemic. The pandemic paused a lot of things. And then when he decided to really retire, he
mm,
retired 6 times, y'all. He retired from academia once, came back, retired again, but then still spoke and presented and all those things. It wasn't until I think the pandemic and a few Zoom meetings, and he's like, peace out, I'm done with this stuff.
yeah.
I think he spoke internationally a few times, but really, and maybe spoke for people, but not a ton after once the pandemic hit.
Mhm.
And so,
Yeah.
yeah, kind of crazy.
Yeah. Someone who had an important part in our lives. And I know, in the lives of many of our listeners. And
Yeah.
we would love it if you could reach out. I mean, we share some of those stories and we can maybe support each other
Oh,
because it
yeah.
is weird. It's kind of weird when I think about this sometimes when people pass that you don't know personally, right? I don't know Dr. Landreth personally. I had him as a professor. He impacted my life in a very huge way, but we were not particular. We were close for a little bit and then not. But it's when a celebrity passes away that's had a big impact on your life, and you cry and you're like, I don't even know this person, right? But they had such a big impact.
Yeah. And I think it would be cool to have a place where we, not only could Maggie and I hear, but we could share them with his wife, Monisa,
Mhm.
too, about, how I think Monisa knows the impact Gary had, but it's still in these times when, your life has been forever altered by losing your life partner, right? It would just be nice for us to share some of those. So
Yeah.
please, in the comments, put stories about, either how
Yeah.
you met Gary or the impact Gary had. And it could be anything. It could be from watching a video or seeing him present, or reading his work, right? Or being trained by someone who was trained by him. Because he's trained a lot of clinicians in the field.
Hmm.
And so,
It's
yeah,
neat.
it is neat.
It's a really cool experience to be able to read, see others that were also receive this training, and how grateful or how amazingly lucky we are to have been
Mhm.
able to hear it from him. And I think that probably is what helps really ground us in it,
Mhm. I
is that
remember,
experience.
so we probably all know of his founding text, The Art of the Relationship, Therapy, The Art of the Relationship. And I have, I think, every edition. Because when I was at the center, we were moving locations. And so we were cleaning out the library, and then we had a storage unit or a storage closet. And in there had every edition. I mean, some of them aren't opened, other things. And I remember talking to Gary that I wanted him to sign all of them, right? And he was, why? These are sealed. These are in pristine. Just leave them, Christy. I was, no, I want your signature on every copy. And the only copy I don't have is his last edition that's signed
Yeah.
by him because you know, when that one came out, I think that was his last big publication.
Yeah.
And I think he was conscious of, you know, the labor all of that stuff takes on him. And
Yeah.
so he told me no. And I said, okay.
He did
Uh,
what?
he told me no. I didn't want
Oh.
to do it. Um, I was, oh, okay.
All right.
Um, well, part of that is it required me shipping it
Right.
to him and then him shipping
Right.
it out. So it meant, he was out in public and other stuff. So
It wasn't like you were like, hey, can I just, when I meet up for a coffee, can you sign
yeah,
this?
I think if
Right.
that was the case, he would do it.
Yeah, of course.
But
He did
he
it
said,
every other time.
no.
It was just
Yeah, it was
logistics.
just this one. But I remember I was, oh, okay.
Okay. Can you just sign a piece of paper and send it
Well,
to me, and
I
I'll just
even
like
called
stamp it?
CPT. I even called CPT, the Center for Play Therapy, to see if, because typically they sold signed copies. I'll buy a copy. I just want the last edition with the signature from Gary. And they're like, he won't even sign ours, Christy. He just said he's not signing anymore. And I was like,
He's done.
oh, he's done. Gary.
No, it's funny.
I
He was
know.
so, I mean, there were so many things about him that were so funny. He, yeah. And just the things, it's so weird. I remember in one of our classes, he would talk about if you're engaging a group, not to say guys, and he would use
Oh,
y'all, I think, instead, to be more inclusive. And so even just on Saturday, my husband was the host of this thing called Girls Got Game for baseball. And he'd be guys, and I'd be like, y'all. Because I'm like, it's all girls, right? And it's guys was such a ubiquitous term for our generation of we'd be like, hey, you guys. And it was everybody. But
yep.
it's not funny, the silly things. I remember my first ever play class, the little girl cut her hair, and I'm in Gary's class. I'm, oh, geez. How am I supposed to show?
Well, I told you, I think I've shared my story where the kid put glue on the floor, on the
Uh-huh.
linoleum floor, and then put sand on top of it. And I couldn't get out the door. He's Christy Opiola. We need to
Mm-hmm.
have a conversation. I was
And
like,
didn't I think someone in our class when we were doing micro prac, I think the little girl peed in the sandbox.
oh, really?
I think they did. I think they
And
were
he's
the
like,
sandbox
we
is
need to
not for
talk
going
about
potty.
what we need to talk about what it means not to have boundaries. And it's okay to set a limit. I was like, you said to be permissive. And he's like, no, 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 no. That's dangerous. It's a skating ring in there. I was like, I just figured we could wash it. He's nope.
It's so
Yeah.
funny.
Yeah.
I mean, it was, yeah.
I think Kristen was my doc student that was actually doing supervision, and he came. Was she yours? Then maybe Kara was
No,
mine.
Kara was mine.
Okay, so Kristen was mine because we were in a different group.
So she's saying Kristen Meany Wallen and
Yep.
Kara Carnes Holt
Oh, we're
were,
doc students while we were taking the class.
mhm,
And for all of these micro practicums, they would have doc students provide supervision, and then the faculty would supervise the supervision of the classes, but they would just pop in.
yeah,
Hence,
Kara,
Gary
oh,
was standing at the door when I finished my session.
oh, he was there.
Oh,
I
he
don't
was
know
right
if
at
he
the
saw.
door. Kristen he was watching. I'm like, oh, yes, he was.
Oh goodness, they saw it. Yeah.
Yeah,
What a neat experience we had.
I know. And I'm super grateful for it. I
Mhm.
mean, for all of them, for Sue, for Gary, for Dee, for Leslie, all the people that really influenced us at North Texas. And I also want to say the legacy he left through the Center for Play Therapy and through even APT. He was one of the founding people with Kevin O'Connor and Charlie Schaefer at APT to really kind of get it started. And I don't think most people know this, but the very first conference for APT was housed at North Texas because Gary was already housing or was already hosting big conferences. And so he said, why don't we use this space? People are used to coming here for play therapy. We could use North Texas to host the conference, which is
Yeah.
wild, crazy.
But now it's this huge entity that
I know.
has a CEO and
Yeah.
that's a big deal. Like it's
Yeah.
big. It's
Yeah.
really, and it's international chapters and or they
Mhm.
have international organizations and
Yep.
just the impact, the worldwide impact, um, and the personal impact.
Yeah. Yeah. I would encourage people, if you haven't listened to the History Speaks, the Landreth interview at APT, it's worth listening to.
Yeah.
Just about how he sees his legacy and, his contribution to the field.
Yeah.
I think it's
Yeah.
a great piece, as well as his many other videos that you can
Yeah.
get at Alexander Street Press, or I have a copy of all of them. And, you know, they're good reminders. I encourage my students to take a look at them. And it really saddens my heart that they will not know him.
Yeah.
They will know of him and his legacy, but they will not know him. He used to come and speak to my class every semester when I first started here
Oh, wow.
until I think right before the pandemic.
Wow.
He couldn't make it. He had a conflict. Maybe he was speaking internationally, and they could ask him any question they wanted to.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was kind of cool.
It's really cool.
And kind of a neat way, for a person who influenced me to also for my students to have a pulse on that as
Mhm.
well.
Yeah.
And they thought it was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Slightly. Yeah.
slightly.
Just a little. Just a little.
Yeah, yeah. And Dee has been too for my intro to class. And then when I taught child parent relationship training, both Gary and Sue have been there.
Oh, wow. I need to start like asking them.
Yeah,
My students were, I don't really know how I feel about child-centered. I'm like, no, I'm not doing a good enough job. Maybe if I
you're
get
doing a great job.
Dee and Sue to come, they can convince
We have
me.
to just
They can
remember
convince.
it's countercultural,
Yeah.
right? So it is a big shift to shift into the realm of child-centered play therapy.
Yeah. It just felt a light bulb in that class. It just
Well,
felt
and
like it all made
yeah,
sense.
I also think, I don't know, I think what made the most sense to me is I experienced it from my instructors, right? The same, what you were asking me to do, I felt I got from Gary or Dr. Landreth, Dr. Bratton, Dr. Ray, Dr. Jones, right? That I think fortified it for me when I was questioning because it was very different than the world I was used to. I was eager to find something else because I wasn't loving the world I was in the sense of it was very behaviorally focused, lots of sticker charts and requesting certain behaviors and other stuff. But yeah, so it felt like a breath of, it was the first time I felt I could really relate at a very deep level of something I think I wanted that I don't want to say I never got it, but I don't, yeah,
It was meaningful in that moment. It
it
felt
was
different.
meaningful in that moment.
I definitely think, I don't know, there's something about having someone that you've just met and in a big power position to
Mm.
see you and accept you.
Yep. And to
Um,
value you, right? To see the value in you.
yeah, I think that's pretty unique.
And I don't think very common in academia, unfortunately.
Oh,
At a pivotal time.
yeah.
It's really cool at the university I'm at right now that one of my colleagues also taught at North Texas and had his office right next to Dr. Landreth.
Who?
Dr. Hank Harris.
I didn't realize that.
Mhm. So it's always fun to have conversations with
Yeah,
him because he has, different experiences with Garry as a colleague than I had
right.
with Dr. Landreth as a student. And so, yeah, but they're fun to hear. And yeah, Dr. Harris talks a lot about his unwavering advocacy for the play therapy program.
Yeah.
And I think Dr. Ray posted something on Facebook about this too. We would be talking about something else, and he'd be, wait, how does that apply to the play therapy program? I need to make sure the play therapy
Mhm.
program is part of this conversation.
Yeah. Yeah.
And just,
Well,
as Maggie and I are academics, gentle reminders, you can
yeah.
be an unwavering advocate in a
Yeah.
world many of us know that sometimes does not prioritize play therapy or prioritize children,
Yeah.
right? Even our big organization, KCRAP, I think children are mentioned 3 times in all of the standards.
Hmm.
And I think only once in clinical mental health. Everything
I
else
think
is
it's
in
in the
school
school counseling.
counseling,
Yeah.
right? Which is wild to me in 2024, right? The standards are 2024.
Oh, yeah. I was like, it's 2026 right now. Yeah.
Oh, I know that.
I
I am based in reality. Yes.
know.
But in
I know you're stressed, but like,
I know, right? No, 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 I do. But the 2024
yes,
standards,
the
so it's not they
24.
were that long ago, but there's
No.
so little about children. There's also nothing about trauma. I think it's listed once in all of the standards. So
Yeah. Yeah.
we've got to do better, right? And continue the advocacy journey. Garry started the ripple. We just need to keep it going.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Well, Christy, I'm glad that we got the opportunity
I
to
know.
share and talk and it's so neat to be able to talk about it with
Yes,
you because we were there together, right?
we
And
were. I know you
yeah,
were part of the start of my journey.
yeah,
Kind of crazy.
it's weird,
Mhm. Over
but
20
it makes
years
me
ago,
happy.
14 years ago, almost 15 years ago.
It's what, 2009, 2008, 2009, 2009. Yeah.
Yeah,
And you're such a big part of my life and
I know.
Garry brought us
Who would
together.
have known
I know.
way back when that we would, not just be colleagues in the field, but really friends and
Yeah, you make my life better. So I'm very grateful for you.
ditto.
So thank you to Garry for bringing us together.
Yes. We sat next to each other, by the way.
I feel we sat, wasn't it in the corner in the
If
back? I
I
can't
know on
remember.
if Garry was in front of us, we were on the right-hand side. We always
Yeah,
sat on the right-hand side of the table.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Well, I
Fun.
hope that for our listeners, please share with us whether you email us or leave a comment on the podcast or on our socials for Play Therapy Space or the Play Therapy Space. We're really interested and would love to share that with the community because I know that this is a big impact on all of us and I think it would be really meaningful to hear from so many people and we've already kind of heard from some people this past week. So keep them
Yeah.
coming and let's celebrate.
And be kind to yourselves. Losing a mentor is hard, so take the time to honor, and it's okay to have mixed emotions.
Yeah. Yeah.
Grief is hard
Grief is hard.
and it'll come and go. So
Well, thank you,
that's one thing we
Christy.
do know about grief. Thanks,
Yeah.
Maggie.
I appreciate you. Have a wonderful day.
You too.
We'll talk later.
Okay.